Hey YouTube, it's the test lead, and today's video is how to create a proper test case. But first, I want to thank you and your support for helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. Without you, it would not be possible. And as thanks, I now have these cool sweaters available in the description box below. So if you want to continue to support my channel, feel free to pick up a sweater or a t-shirt, but no pressure. Now back to the video. One of the most important parts of test plan creation, as well as the testing lifecycle in general, is test case creation. Part of being a QA specialist, a manual QA, a QA analyst, whatever you want to call it, whatever buzzword is the latest thing now, is documentation. Everything you do, you must document, and test cases are no different. Test cases are a set of actions that you perform to ensure something is functioning as expected. Some test cases are written in fancy test management tools such as Jira, but you can also write test cases in a simple Excel file. So if your team's on a tight budget or you're trying to practice on your own, you don't need the test management tools. They're beneficial, but you can open up an Excel file and write a whole test case yourself. The most important part is writing effective and accurate test cases. So you got the fanciest test management tool ever, but if your test cases are horrible, then what's the point? This video will cover the different types of test cases, a test case structure, as well as test case best practice. So first, the three different types of test cases. We have positive test cases, negative test cases, and destructive test cases. So first, positive test cases. For positive test cases, you're putting out valid input and ensuring that the application performs as expected. So for example, let's say a mobile banking application. You put in your credentials on your phone for your proper username and password. You expect to be able to sign in with the proper credentials. That can be your test case. So you enter username, password, press the login button, and then you're logged into your application. Now the opposite of that is a negative test case. So now, once again, you're in your mobile application on your phone right now, and then you try to log in, you put in the proper username, but you put an incorrect password in. You should get some type of error message saying invalid password. That's a negative test case. With the negative test case, we're making sure that if a user doesn't input proper credentials, they can't access the application. And finally, we have destructive test cases. Destructive test cases are less common, but you should still know about them. Destructive test cases are trying to break the application or make it destruct. An example of this is you repeatedly pressing the login button, this application just crashes because it's not used to handling that much click events. Or another example is trying to load test the application and maybe putting like 1,000 users on the application at the same time, more than that the application can handle, then the application just crashes. As I said, these are less common, but you still know what it is. Next, we have test case structure. Just like with any documentation in the testing lifecycle, we have a structure that should be followed, but you can modernize it and change it to fit your team's needs. A test case usually includes test name/ID, summary, precondition, test script/steps, expected results, actual results, postcondition, and status. As I said, the structure is not set in stone. It may differ slightly from team to team, but it's a safe general guideline to follow. First, the test name/ID. Each test case should have its own unique test name or ID. It should be unique to the test plan itself. So let's say you're testing the banking application again with the login process. A test case name might be successful login 01. So we're getting that part of our test case as well as a unique number to make sure that our ID is unique. Next, we have the summary for your test case. The summary should include the purpose of the test case. You should not be just writing test cases just to write them. Each test case should have a purpose for what it's testing, and you should describe it here. That way anyone from outside who's trying to see what the test case is supposed to do, they can see it in a summary. An example is, the purpose of this test is to confirm that a user can log in if they input the correct credentials. Next, we have a precondition. A precondition is a list of steps that need to be executed before the test can start. This helps set up the test data for your test. So let's say for our banking application, a precondition might be a user account must be created previously. That way, when we start our test, we're just inputting the credentials. We're not going through the whole process of creating an account and then verifying an account exists. No, we're just testing that exact feature right there of logging in. So a precondition would be make sure the user is signed up, make sure they have valid credentials, and make sure the credentials are provided to the person carrying out the test. Next, we have test scripts or steps. Those words are used interchangeably for a test case, so either one suffice. So the test scripts are the actual steps to carry out the test that we perform and proceed. So the test scripts are a list of steps to complete the verification of our test. Some test scripts may have expected results for each step. Example, navigate to a login screen. Expected result, login screen is shown. Next, input valid username, the test lead. Expected result, the test lead is in the input box. Next, input valid password, password 1. Expected result, password 1 is in the password box. Press the login button. The login button is pressed and then welcome page is shown. After this is the expected results. As I said, some test scenarios have expected results after each step, but other ones have a final outcome that they want to test, which is the expected results. So an example of expected results for our login for our banking application is, let's say once the user puts in the proper username and password, they're brought to the welcome screen showing their bank information. And that'll be the expected results for our test. After we have the expected results written, we actually need the actual results. So let's say, as I said previously, the expected results are after you put in proper credentials, you're taken to the welcome screen. But let's say the actual results are, I put in proper credentials, but I'm taken to a credit card statement instead of the welcome screen. That means our expected results and actual results do not match. So don't just assume that whatever you see is what you should be getting. Check the expected results against the actual results every time. Don't get lazy and just assume. And if there are discrepancies or problems with our expected results versus our actual results, they should be brought up and documented. And now, post conditions. Our post conditions get the test application back to the state how it was before we started testing. Just like with preconditions, this is optional. This returns the system to a usable state in case your test had changed anything in the application. For example, let's say the test added a deposit in one of its steps. A post condition may be to delete the deposit from the database so the next time we run the test, we can reuse the same exact information and get the same expected results. If the expected results for a test that deposited money into your account were 100 and then we didn't reset this, the next time we tested this and created additional deposit, the balance will now be greater than 100. This will mean we have to incorrectly fill our test, not because there was a problem with the application, but because we didn't properly clean up the data after our last run, and now the expected and actual results are different. The next part of our test case is the status. The statuses are usually pass, fail, or blocked. Pass obviously means all the tests passed and our expected and actual results match. Fail means along the process, our expected and actual results didn't match. And blocked means while we're trying to execute our test case, maybe the system just shut down early before we finish our test. And we're blocked because now we need development to figure out what bug caused that. And it's very important to document our test results. That way, everyone who was involved in the testing process can know what's going on. We also can keep track of repeat failing test cases. And now finally, to wrap it up, test case best practices. As I started with, there's no concrete, proper way to write a test case. This is just a suggestion and a guideline. Each team might do it slightly different, but this is a good template to start with. When writing test cases, be very descriptive. You should assume that the person executing a test case has never seen the application before and they have no prior knowledge of it. So you should be able to walk them through, hey, go to this website, insert this exact credentials in the text box. Press this login button, step by step. Don't assume they know how to do anything. Be very descriptive. That way, let's say you leave the company and if someone else carries out the test case later on, they're gonna be lost like, what do I do? So don't just cater to how you understand it. Make it very descriptive and reusable as possible. Test cases should also be repeatable and have the same results. This is why the pre and post condition parts are very important. If we change any information each time we run an application and don't revert it back afterwards, it becomes hard to have consistent expected results. Going back to the banking deposit example, let's say I deposited $100 and I expect the balance to be $100. Cool, test case runs and passed the first time. but we don't clear it out. And next time I run a test case, I deposit another $100. Now the balance is $200. Now I have to fill the test case, even though the application worked as expected. So make sure you carry out your pre and post conditions. It's optional, but when needed, use it. Tests should have no dependencies on other tests. Tests should be able to be run at any time, no matter what test ran before it. This further emphasizes why it's important to have pre and post conditions when needed. And now to wrap it up, I can't emphasize how important test cases are. Don't try to skip this step when creating test plans or just a testing cycle in general. Have descriptive test cases so that anybody can run it and document each step and the results. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos, please leave them below. If you want another video just like this, please take care. And hey, don't forget to learn something new today.